Hello, my name's Jack Riley and this is my Why is Pre-Production So Important piece. So my FMP is for a company called the Handmade Boutique Birmingham. They're a shop full of designers from the West Midlands, and the shop is in the Great Western Arcade. I'm going to be doing like a documentary style piece for them, and I'm going to focus on like the handmade aspects and the qualities of the shop. The shop works like a cooperative, so all the designers pay in and all the designers take out money. So it's not owned by one person, it's owned by every single person that is involved with the shop itself. So let's get started. So finance and budgeting, I'm going to break this down into two sections. So the first section is what is needed. So to get a basic production up and running, you need a crew, talent of some description, transport, props, equipment and locations. Now all these things are vitally important to making a production happen. So you need your crew obviously to be able to film, talent obviously because you've got to be filming something, so you need like a presenter or your interviewees and your interviewer. Then transport, so this is like to and from locations, and obviously locations are where you're going to be filming, so you need somewhere to film. Props, so that can be anything from what the person is wearing to things in the background. And equipment, obviously things like your tripods, your cameras, your SD cards, everything like that. Now, the thing with all those is you need money to be able to actually fund them. And so there are different methods of gaining funding. So one of them is crowdsourcing. Now, crowdsourcing is websites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and the way they work is you post your idea online with like a brief explanation, or sometimes like even a short video like a teaser trailer, and you explain to people your idea and your concept, and then you offer them, in exchange for money, you offer them rewards. So this can be anything from t-shirts and merchandise to behind the scenes footage. So this can be anything from t-shirts and merchandise to behind the scenes footage, or even executive producer roles within the actual production itself. Another way of gaining funding as well is product placement and sponsorship. Now this one kind of links in with props. So what you might do is you might turn around and go, right, we have a scene where we're doing like food and people are eating. And so you turn around and say, right, well if you as a company say Bird's Eye, give us a load of chicken breasts, we'll actually include the Bird's Eye box within the production itself and be on camera and in the final edit. And that way people will see that product associated with a good cause, and it's like secret advertising. Sponsorship goes along the same lines. You give them not necessarily the same as product placement. You give the company a credit in the titles or a credit in the end credits and say thank you for sponsoring us, thank you for giving us money, this company gave us money and funded our production. Another way of getting funding, which is a lot more common in professional productions, is to have an executive producer. Now, they fund everything, absolutely everything, but they're also in control of everything. So they have the final say in the project. They also control how the profits get split at the end. So they can say, right, we want to keep 100%, or we're going to keep 100%, like you keep 20%, whatever. Now, the thing is, how does this relate to me? I'm creating a very low budget product. So all the equipment I already own myself, so I don't need budgeting for equipment. All the people that I'm interviewing are doing it for free because they're part of the business themselves. So I don't actually need any funding from any of these sources. I'm going to do it minimal cost. There's no real funding needed. So we move next on to casting. Now, when you're casting people, like talent this is, to be in your productions, you do things like auditions and screen tests. Now, auditions can be one of many things. You can do online auditions where people send in videos. You can go to agents and say, do you recommend actors for us, and we'll audition them, and you bring them in and you give them a piece of the script. And then you would do something like a screen test where you get different actors together and see how they work well together, so you can like test it out. Now with actors, you have to get release forms for everything. So these are basically forms where people sign and they say, I'm happy that any footage that was filmed today can be used in whatever way the company sees fit. So if you've made an absolute idiot of yourself, then you wouldn't necessarily sign a release form, and you wouldn't agree to the footage being put out there. But it's not very common for that to happen. The next thing is scripts and interviews. So you have to, or scripts and interview questions. So you have to, as a scriptwriter like myself or the producer for my production, you'd have to write the script and the interview questions, and then you have to kind of try them out. So with mine, I gave them to the actual client themselves, and I said, like, How do you feel these questions work? Do you like the idea? Do you like the way I'm going with it? Now, how do all these different things relate to me to do with talent? I didn't need to audition the actual interviewees themselves because I'm not looking for actors and I'm not looking for certain characters. I'm looking for the people that I feel fit, that have made me tick's idea and the idea that I want to go with the video best. So I looked online and I looked at their profiles and I looked at their businesses and I looked at their stories, and I kind of turned around and I went, right, I like this person's story, I like this person's personality. So it was an audition of sorts, I guess. But it didn't really work like that. It was a lot more kind of my decision when at the end of the day, and then I got the people involved with the company to agree. Now, also, I did make everybody who appeared in the video for any period of time at all. So even if they weren't on camera, but you heard their voice in the background, even if they were on camera, but I didn't actually use the footage, I still got them to sign a release form, because you never know what you want to use, what you're going to use, who you're going to use, where you're going to use it. It might be used in the future, so I just got release forms for everything. And I've told you about the interview questions. Right, the next thing comes down to hiring crew. So the main roles that are required are the producer, the director, the cameraman or the camera operator, lighting and sound operators or engineers, and an editor or a post-production team. And obviously all those are vitally important. Those are the basic roles that you need to get a production up and running. Now, when it comes to sourcing crews, this can be happening in a lot of ways. So you could have adverts online or adverts in newspapers. A lot of it's happening on social media nowadays, so people just literally post in Facebook groups or Facebook pages that they're looking for people, and people come forward, email their CVs, and then you would interview and it would go on like that. Or you use existing contacts. So I would say use someone that I knew from working with Maverick, or someone that I knew from working with Endemol. Like, I could pull in contacts like that. Or you get favours from people. So say I've done something for you, you do something for me, and you pull in favours like that. And that way you don't actually have to pay anyone, because and you save money. Right, now the team size, so your crew size, this is dependent on the budget. So it depends on how much you've got to spend and the size of your production. And the space that you actually have to film in, the space that you have in your location. Now, how does this relate to me? I will have a very small crew. I will have a crew of probably 2 or 3 people on set every day, including myself. So I will probably just need a cameraman, because I can fulfill all the other roles. I can edit, I can direct, I can produce, I can do all those sorts of things. So the only thing that my downfall is in camera and sound. So I'll probably maximum have a camera and a sound operator on set with me. Location scouting. Right, now with locations, you have to obviously find the location that you want first, and then you have to get location release forms. So just getting permission to film in locations is basically what getting location release forms are. Even if they're public spaces, like the street or like a park, you still actually have to get permission from the council, because they technically own it. And if you don't, this thing called guerrilla filming is technically illegal and you can be shut down. Now, sometimes there is a fee, sometimes there's not. If you explain that you're a student or that you're low budget, they might let you off, but more often than not, there is a basic admin fee that you have to pay. Booking and fees. So the way this works is you arrange a time to check out the space, and then you arrange the time that you actually want to film, and you discuss with the owner. You arrange the time you want to film with the owner of the actual place themselves, and then you discuss the actual cost that it's going to be. For them to let you in, and you arrange for them to let you film. Organising a price with the owner depends on the length of time and the amount of the space that's being used and the time of year it's being used. So say you wanted to use a department store and you wanted to film 3 days before Christmas, it's going to cost you a lot more if you wanted to shut down the store for a day to be able to film in there, because that's their peak season, they're going to make money. But if you wanted to film in, I don't know, on a weekday during the school term, it's going to cost you a lot less, because they're not going to be making as much money then. If you're only using a space because you want it as location shots, so as scene, I can't think of the word to friggin' describe it. So say you were using the outside of building to show that that's where they were, or scene shot or town shots to show the town that you're filming in, as a mise en scène, then you don't necessarily have to actually go there and film yourself. There might already be archived footage, and in that case you can arrange to actually pay to have use of that footage and have legal ownership of that footage and be able to use it. Right, moving on to risk assessments. Now, locations that are used regularly for filming tend to have basic risk assessments that come with them for most situations. But obviously, say you were doing something with explosives or pyrotechnics or whatever, you would have to obviously include that into your release forms. And say you were using, I don't know, lots and lots of cables, or you had extra things on set, you would include that more into your release forms, into your risk assessments. Now, you have to consider everything. So you have to consider anything like changes you might make to the location. So are you going to put a stage in? Are you going to have lots of chairs? Or props and set that you're going to be adding and taking away. So things like you could have like lights dangling from the ceiling quite low and things like that. So you have to consider everything. On your risk assessments as well, you have to have the nearest emergency point. So this is like hospitals and police stations and ambulance stations, just in case anyone got injured. So everyone that has a call sheet on them knows exactly where they've got to go and exactly what they're doing. Now, how does this relate to my production? I'm filming in a shop that has never had filming happen in it before. So my risk assessments are going to have to be very extensive, and they're going to be built from the ground up, because I'm pretty sure the company don't have a risk assessment for filming in the shop. There's actually no changes. I'm not going to be making any changes to the shop itself. All that I'm going to be taking in is a camera and sound equipment. So I don't need to necessarily evaluate for every single prop that's going to be in that shop, because it's full of stock, but it's all on shelves, it's all safe. So that might necessarily come under one subtitle on my risk assessment of products in shop. Now, on to the next one, storyboarding. So in a storyboard, you have to contain framings, camera movements, transitions, and important movements of any description, so like important information. They are very important because it shows everybody that's involved exactly what is going to happen. And so your cameraman can see where he's got to be, what shots you're looking for. It helps the director get their vision across. Now, storyboard and artist cost. Depending on the length of the storyboard you want and the detail that you want within it. So say you just want a very basic stickman storyboard, you could probably draw that yourself for free. But say you wanted one very in-depth with like 3D designs or online, or on computers like with Photoshop drawn, then it's going to cost you a lot more. And finding the right artist is important, because they all specialise in different things. So one might be a specialist hand-drawn storyboardist, whereas one might be a specialist like computerised storyboarder. Pre-visualisation. These are basically detailed images, so like pictures that exactly show to the letter what is going to be happening. Sometimes these are a lot easier, and there are people that literally are paid to represent people in TV scenes that show, and then they'll take pictures for the storyboard to show it. Now, how does this relate to me? My storyboard will be very, very basic, because I don't know until I've done the interviews what order my production is going to run in, so who's going to feature when. I have a basic outline in my head, but I don't actually know. I will storyboard the basic layout and where people will be sat in the interviews for my cameraman and for myself, so that I'm aware, but it's not going to be detailed and to the point, because there's no point, because it will change. Props and costumes. Finding vendors and hiring. So this is when you have to hire out your costumes and hire out your props. You would call around different hire companies, check that they've got the product, so you might even visit their shops or visit their warehouses, and you find the best price or deal. So if you are hiring like, I don't know, 60 different Victorian costumes, you might turn around and go, look, can you cut us a bit of a discount? You then arrange to either for it to be delivered or for you to go and pick it up. And is there like a deposit to be paid? So is there like, if you damage the product, do you have to pay to be able to do you have to pay a deposit so that if it's damaged, the money can be there's money to be able to fix it and stuff. Now, custom made costumes. These are a lot more expensive, but they are better. So a custom made costume is a costume that is made for that specific actor, for that specific role. So they are measured to fit the actors. They are more expensive and they take a lot longer to make, but they do look better in the long run. And you can get exactly what you want, like to the letter, because you tell the designer and the maker what you want. Now, how does this relate to my production? No costumes are required. All of my people that I'm interviewing are going to be wearing what they normally wear in their comfortable clothes, because it'll have a lot more of a relaxed feel, and that's what I'm trying to get across. Hiring equipment. We will need different equipment for different periods in production. So, like props and costumes, you'd phone around hire companies to find the best deals. You'd use specialist equipment, because then you obviously have a better quality product and it turns out more professional. And you will also need insurance. Like to show, obviously, because if you break something, then you need the insurance to be able to oh fucking hell, you need the insurance to be able to like put that bloody hell bollocks. So you'll need the insurance to be able to cover yourself in case you have any damage or any injury or anything with the equipment itself. Now, obviously, I said that you need different equipment at different times. So say post-production, all you really need is pens, paper, staplers, computer software. Production itself is the most expensive one, with your cameras and your SD cards and your tripods and your and your insurance for all that equipment. And then post-production, it's more about your computers and your CGI software and your editing software and stuff. Now, how does this relate to my production? I won't be hiring any equipment, as I own all the equipment myself. So I own a camera and I own a tripod and I own a sound recorder. So I will be alright. I won't actually have to spend any money and hire out any equipment. But I may look into getting some insurance because I'm filming in a location that hasn't ever been filmed in before. I don't necessarily know every single risk that's ever going to be covered in there. So it might be worth me getting just some basic insurance to cover myself if I do break anything. Onto production schedules. These are really, really vital. They help organise your cast and crew so everyone knows what's happening and when and where they've got to be and what place they're meant to be at and what time they're meant to be there and what they've got to do. It just makes sure that everyone knows everything that is going on. You have to incorporate everything that is going to happen. So even things like contingency plans, like will you have a backup plan, or are you that certain that everything's going to go all right? But everything can go wrong. So things like the weather or someone being ill and things like that. Now, targets and deadlines. These are also included on your production schedule. So these will include a start date of production and an end date of production. Now, this is good because it gives people like editors and like directors exact dates of when they've got to film things, when they've got to have it edited by, when they've got to have it like broadcast by, so they know exactly what's going to happen. And you would have again on this a contingency plan, so that if things aren't completed to deadline, there are repercussions, so people know what's going to happen. Now, how does this relate to me? I will obviously make a production schedule to give to my client to show when things are happening, but it also shows when my crew when they've got to be on set, when they've got to be filming. Now, with contingency plans, yes, I'll also have a contingency plan. So if, say, my cameraman is sick, I'm fortunate enough that I know how to use a camera and how to film basic shots. So I could film the basic interview on that day, and then next time we go back for another interview, maybe film all the close-ups and film all the extended shots that I couldn't have necessarily got with my limited skills on a camera. Now, legal and ethical requirements. The main one here is copywriting. So all music and footage that you use in the production must be copyrighted, and the user must have the rights to use it. So this comes from things like release forms and contracts. Insurance. While insurance is not essential for filming or for all things, it is illegal. While insurance is not essential for all things, some things it is illegal not to have it for. Things like for risks or injuries or loss of life and things like that, they're essential. Ofcom, they are the regulator in the UK for TV shows, and so creating a product for them, it must be in line with their regulations. So things like when you plan to broadcast it, it must be after the watershed if it's got swearing inside and things like this. This includes this tends to be within the boundaries of taste and decency. And that is me done. Obviously, employment contracts and risk. No, that's me done. Oh, fuck it, I'm done. I don't know how long that was, but fuck it, I'm done. Oh, shit, Jenny.